Hey guys, Inferno here with another review. Who would have thought? But anyway, this time it's for Shin Megami Tensei 5, or SMT5 as I'll just call it, for the Nintendo Switch. So in this review I'll mainly be talking about the story, characters, gameplay, music, and if you should buy it or not. Also I might compare it to Persona 5, but we all know how that went. Anyway, there'll probably be some spoilers in this. Slight spoilers, I'll keep it to a minimum though. But with that said, let's get right into it. The story of SMT5 takes us back to Tokyo with a high school student living a normal life where him and his friends end up in another world called DAT, which is spelled DA-AT, but I'll just call it the Netherworld to keep it easy. The protagonist meets a being named Aogami and fuses him to become a Nahobino, a being that has been condemned by the gods. Eventually, the protagonist and his friends do manage to make it back to their world. However, they are informed that the demons are starting to leak into their own world, where they're at now, and are invited to join a group called Bethel, who fights back against these demons. So, if you played previous SMT games, it's kind of a similar structure there, fight demons here, go there, do your decisions and all that stuff. Anyway, the start of the game is somewhat decent, where we're just fighting demons and coming to an understanding of what's happening in the world and how our decisions will affect future events. At the end of the first dungeon area is where I would say the game starts to pick up a bit of pace, because it's a slow burner at the start, I won't lie. This is where you start to find out the truth of some of the people that you've met and how they will tie into the story of this game. The midway point of the game is where you start to see the people that you've met previously, what their ideals are for the world and what they do if they had the chance to change it. So we all know how that's really going to turn out. You got law, chaos, somehow it's called dark in this game for the other ending, but I'll go into that later. Regardless, coming to the end of the game is where the story starts to get really interesting, which naturally it should do. Though it does drag out a bit, in terms of bosses, enemies, dungeon layouts. I'll talk about that later on. So pretty much the story reveals like previous titles. You fight demons and gods, decide the fate of Tokyo. With that said, there are multiple endings in the game. Now, in regards to this, they are much easier compared to previous games where you had to say answer a specific question a certain way, becomes friend of this person, your alignment and all that stuff. This game, pretty much all you have to do for the three main endings is to reach the end of the second final dungeon, and basically it will give you a choice of what you want to do, and when you see those choices then you just understand which route you're taking, more or less. Though there is a fourth ending which probably most people will end up missing out, because you have to do a certain side quest, and if people do get that side quest they probably mess up by picking the wrong option. So I'll probably do a video on that later on, but that fourth ending I'll probably say is the true ending of the game because of the extended scene that you get at the end of the credits. But overall I'll say three endings that you get, they're somewhat decent, but I feel they're lacking, I guess, that closure in a sense. But the fourth ending is really worth it. So I think if anything, I say everyone go for the fourth ending. Though trying to do it on your first playthrough, and I won't say any spoilers, is gonna be quite the challenge. That's all I'll say. Now I'm gonna move on to the characters. So I'll be honest, the characters in the game, in my opinion, they weren't the greatest, as well as not being the worst. They're in that middle point. You'll see two main characters from your school called Ichiro and Yuzuru. They're probably the main characters that you'll see, and I say probably, they are the main characters you see throughout the game, as they're tied heavily into the story. While Tao and Miyazu, God, hopefully I said that right, are used a bit for the story, but I'll say after 3-4 hours you won't see them as much. Tao is heavily involved, but you won't see it as much in the game, which is a bit of a shame, but hey, what can we do really? As for Miyazu, you like hear her speak like a few lines in the game, and that's about it. So I was kind of disappointed with that. I would say overall, I don't have too many complaints. Like, yeah, the characters definitely could have been flushed out a bit more, but it's not to the point of me saying, yo, this is like straight garbage. But with all that said, I'll give the story point of the game a 8 out of 10. Now we're moving on to the gameplay of the game. This is where I've got some of my issues with this title. So with any SMT game, it's more or less the same combat system as previous titles. You have a certain amount of turns, so depending on how many demons you have in your party, you can range from 1 if you just got like the main character pretty much, to 4 where you have like a full party. Basically you can get extra turns from hitting weaknesses or getting a critical. Same thing can be with enemies. They can have between 4 to 8 turns depending on like what enemy you're facing. I mean, if you've played SMT games, you pretty much know it's the standard. Basically abuse the weakness and try to not get fucked, more or less. I'll try not to swear, but yeah, this game is very punishing. But in this game they've added a Magatsuhi bar, I think I said it right, which basically gives you the ability to use, say, a strong skill. So in the start of the game, you have a skill that basically guarantees you to do a critical regardless of what move you use, excluding like obviously healing and like elements and all that stuff, which I'll be honest, you'll probably be using that one a lot throughout the whole game compared to like the other skills you get. Now, to even unlock the other skills, they are given as talismans, and they're usually unlocked from like doing the side quests that you see throughout the game, to finding certain demons. Mainly they're like side quest rewards, but yeah, as you go through the game you'll find a bunch of them. Some of them are actually somewhat decent. One that I found that I was using a lot was basically reducing the damage by, I'd say like 80-90% pretty much. But yeah, that's my say on that. Now we're moving on to the difficulties in the game. So you have casual, normal, hard, and then we have the simple one coming as day 1 DLC. Honestly, I didn't see the need for that, but each to their own really. I played the game on normal. I was debating on playing it on hard, but I know my luck when it comes to these games, I just get straight up wrecked half the time. And even on normal, it still happens. So there are times where you miss a move, you basically lose 2 turns, right? And that could just easily be the deciding factor of you either winning a battle or you dying. And you dying in this game basically puts you back to the main menu. So wherever you last saved, you'll start from there. It's not like Persona and stuff where you can just retry the battle pretty much. Well, that's mainly for like boss battles, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. The game can be very, very, very punishing. Now to my main point, balance. This game seems to be all over the place when it comes to balance. Now I'm not gonna go like balls crazy on it, but basically the beginning of the game, it wasn't too hard, it wasn't too easy. It was like at that middle point, like it should be pretty much. Midway point is where you have like, you'll start to have all your demons and like your resistance, your moves to like buff you, debuff enemies, put them to sleep and all that. That's where the game starts to get, somewhat easy. And then it's where coming near to the end of the game is where it just took a thing for like, it just had a complete U-turn is all I can say. Like at this point it was the fourth netherworld area where I was like level 55, which I think was alright, but then I was seeing enemies from ranging from like my level all the way up to like level 72, and I'm thinking, what the hell happened here? So I'm here getting like one-shotted by like half of these enemies, and it's like, hello, did I miss something? So that's the part of the game where it's like, okay, I had to start using these items called Gospel and Grimoire. So Gospel allows you to level up once on your main character, while Grimwell's for like the demons. So these items are dropped by they're called Mitama enemies. You will see them throughout the game. They're somewhat semi-rare, although on my playthrough I seem to spot them a lot. So they can drop it, or they can drop the Grimwells, or they can drop like other items as well. You can also find it through your quest navigator, as they're called in this game. So they basically spot items on the main map and stuff. Speaking of that, my god, that is basically Navi 2.0 who you have at the start of the game. It is so jarring. Anyway, I had to use, I'll say like 10 to 12 just to like get my level up to like not die in one hit pretty much, which is a shame because using those items just makes the game like 10 times easier. But you know, at that point I was just like, I'm not here to like try hard pretty much, because I would understand if certain areas were high level and some areas are not, like previous Neverworld areas, but this one is just like boom, you jump into a battle, okay, you've got a level 56 enemy, oh here's a level 72 enemy there as well. So that is my main issue, is that balance seems to be all over the place, and that works both ways, because items is my next point. Items in this game give you a lot of mileage, I think too much mileage. So you'd have your usual items to heal you, to remove status elements, give you MP back, so you have those. But then you have an item called dampeners, so you have physical ones, magical ones, which are stupidly good in this game, like to the point where it just completely nullifies half the bosses in the game. They do cost, you can only get, was it a maximum of 3 for each of them? So physical, magic, fire one, lightning, force, you know, all the elements in the game, you can get 3 of them, and they're like easily obtained from the shop. Those make every fight, literally every boss fight, was just so easy if you use them. And you have items that can deal, say, damage, like elemental damage as well. So you have the shards that are like an AoE, and then you have the gems that are a single use, but they're like the heavy variants of each of them. And to be honest, I'll be honest, you can easily like defeat certain enemies and bosses with just items. That's how easy it is. So I'm not too sure what happened there. I mean, it's there to be used. If you want a challenge, then you don't have to use it, because there are like skills that do the same as well, though they cost a decent amount of MP. But if you're here to just play through the story and you don't care about challenges or whatnot, then yeah, items will be your best friend throughout this playthrough. Now my last point for gameplay. So recruiting demons in this game is pretty I'd say somewhat straightforward, because the amount of times I failed in recruiting a demon has led me to like, I don't know how many deaths at the start of the game, but it got to the point I was like, is it even worth it to do it? Now, in a sense, yes, it is, because it saves you money in fusing them. At the same time, again, you can just easily die like that. Some of them always be asking for money or items and stuff, and back like at the start of the game, that's stuff you don't just want to easily give out. So it's like a hit and miss. Maybe someone might do a guide for it, but boy, they're gonna have a field day with that one. Now they do have like some special interactions, some funny dialogue here and there, but I say after 5 hours of me playing, I kind of stopped trying to recruit demons. I said, you know what, I'll just fuse them, because at the end of the day, it's just saving me time and not allowing me to like easily die because I messed up. Because when you mess up, it'll be their turn, and yeah, sometimes that can easily just lead to your death. There are fusion accidents in the game. They don't really teach you about it unless you like go and read it in the place where you go and do fusions. Mainly they have a higher chance of happening when there's a full moon. So I would say early game, make use of that, because the amount of times I've got a fusion accident, I've gotten a higher persona that's like higher than my current level, helped me like significantly in certain battles. So I would say just keep that in mind. With all of that said, Overall, gameplay is your standard turn-based, while somewhat being a challenge, while still maintaining that core SMT value, with adding like a few quality of life changes here and there. So I guess I'll give it like a 7 out of 10. Now, with the music and the game, or any SMT games, usually they're somewhat good, but this game, some of the tracks, I'll be honest, I didn't really enjoy as much compared to like previous titles. I know previous titles I had like a decent amount that I liked. That's not to say the songs are like super bad, but after a while you're just like, I'm kind of tired of hearing it right now. The final boss music, now it depends on what ending you're getting. If you're going for like the 3 main endings that appear for you, then you won't hear it. You only hear it when you're going for the 4th ending, or basically I'll say true ending of the game. This is where you hear the proper final boss music, which is a slight shame, but hey, what can you do, man? Overall, I would feel the OST is slightly weaker to previous games, but it's still enjoyable to an extent. I know some people probably like have a fit about that, but hey, not everything's going to be perfect in games, you know. Now, with all that said, my final thoughts for the game, I would say SMT5 still provides a challenge to the user, mainly at the beginning, although it just becomes stupidly easy later on in the game. While for new players that are actually like jumping into like this type of series for the first time, it is quite welcoming. You know, it's not too hard, but you can't take stuff for granted in this game. I would say always save when you can, all the time. But apart from that, performance wise, the game tries to run at 30 FPS, but I don't know if it I shouldn't really laugh. I don't know if it's optimization or just the Nintendo Switch lacking power, but it could be both of them really. But yeah, the game chugs a lot in certain places. Even when doing a menu transition, you could see the frames are like going, and I'm just like, bro, what the hell is this, man? But apart from that, if you could look all past those issues, which I know most people probably will anyway, then I would say I would recommend this game to you. You know, it's a great JRPG, typical SMT fashion with new quality of life changes to an extent, decent music, gameplay wise, you know what you're getting into, new additions added into it, but at the same time it just makes it easier. But yeah, I'm just rambling at this point. Anyway, I'd recommend the game. If you enjoyed the review, do let me know. If you've got any comments about the game or any issues, do let me know. I'm on Twitter most of the time, Discord if you really want to go there. YouTube comments, I always read them. I might not always respond to some of them, but they're there. I would always read them. But yeah, with that said, surprisingly I didn't say personas a lot, but anyway, I'll catch you guys later, and yeah, I'll see you for my next review.